Cayman leading V6. SP3T, that is the number 317, no team name, it's an Audi TT. That car is currently in 75th place overall. And then the VT2 Hecker, which means basically all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. That's car 500, 69th place overall, and it's that team again, Adrenaline Motorsport, leading several classes here with their, this time with their BMW 330i. Next up is just up the road in 68th place, the TCR leader, car 776. No team name, that's an Audi RS3 TCR, and then just ahead of it is the SRS Team Sorg Rennsport BMW M2. That's the BMW class in 67th place overall. Next class leader we come upon is the Rita Engineering Porsche 911. That is in the SP7 class, 47th place overall, and that is car 91. And then in 41st place is the Cup 3 leader. That's the W&S Motorsport Porsche 718 Cayman, and that is the number aptly numbered for a Porsche 962. First in the SP4T class is in 40th, and that's the number 88 for it's the Subaru WRX in SP4T. SP10 is just ahead of them in 39th, and that's the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW M4, the GT4 spec car in SP10. First in the 992, SP Pro is the number 992. That's a Porsche 911 from Manthey. And then in the AT2 class, in 32nd place overall, is number 632. That's the Black Falcon Porsche 911 Cup car. Further up the order, we find the Cup 2 leader. That's the Porsche class, the number 900, the 900 Black Falcon team Porsche 911. And then just looking up the timing screen, we're inside the SP9 class. SPX is being led by the 5th place overall car. That's the BMW M3 Touring, fan favourite, certainly one of my favourites. And then the final class in the configuration is the SP9, which is the GT3 class, of course, and that's being led by our overall leader. Now the turn of the number 80, Lucas Stoltz, in the Winward Racing Mercedes, who's taking his turn at the front of this field.
Sure, many people would have been listening to you and also enjoying, if you're watching us as well as listening to us, enjoying the pit stop from Hyundai Motorsport N with their 830 Elantra N, because not only was the sort of tortuous task being done by the mechanic on the rear left of loosening 5 individual wheel nuts from the studs, taking the wheel off and then having to do them up again at relatively slow speed, but he was doing a very good job. The other thing that was taking place was a bit of aero bodywork being torn off the rear left corner, which had already been damaged, and the same mechanic got rid of that. But I noticed they were doing front discs on that Hyundai already, and we've had 9 hours of the race so far. Did look like it was only the front discs that were being replaced. They are very, very hot components, of course. So the tray had been brought out for the new disc that was going to be offered to the car, and that was a slightly longer stop than we would normally have seen for the Elantra.
But it'll be fresh from a 10,000-mile service, if you like, to then do the next stint now. And if they're going to do brakes after...
So if the brakes will last 14 hours, when you're inside of 14 hours remaining, then you are clear to do the brakes if you really want to push that. Just want to say hello to a fellow commentator, Johnny, Andrew Mather, who's at home with his better half. First Nürburgring. Rude of you, Andrew, not to have given me your fiance's name, but hopefully you're enjoying the race. And Andrew's the lead commentator on the British Karting Championships. I think he's not at the... Are you at the British tomorrow? I think you said you're at Chennington. Another old school track, of course, but glad you're enjoying it. How long are you going to stay with us then if you're working tomorrow? You'll be sounding like a gibbering fool if you stay up any later.
It's only 11:10 in the UK, so stay till midnight at the very least, UK time. The two Mercedes have switched around again, by the way, and they might have actually switched for a second time on this lap, because the order was Lucas Stoltz ahead of Danny Juncadella, and they've come in now with Juncadella ahead of Stoltz. So they did indeed switch around for a second time on the same lap. On the live ticker, it said a minute past midnight that the two Mercs were in the reverse order, but they have come in 3 leading 80, and this will be to complete 57 laps. Just confirm that in a moment or two, because various graphics around me just basically describe those cars as being in the pits, but that's either 57 or 58. Oh, there we go. It is 58 laps completed by the two AMGs, and they came into pit lane separated by less than a second. And the amount of photographers now that are around the number 3 car rather suggests that a certain Max Verstappen might be taking the number 3 car over now. I don't know whether we can peer right into the cockpit to confirm that.
Well, we were kind of preparing ourselves, not as much as Max Verstappen would be, for his very first nighttime stint in a motor race. Can't quite see into the car to see what that helmet colour is, Johnny, and we won't know for sure, unless we do see his helmet, who the driver is until it clicks the timing beam as he pulls out of the pits. So fingers crossed, we're going to get this first stint, another Formula 1 world champion to welcome to 24-hour sports car racing. We had Fernando Alonso, who went to Daytona, went to Le Mans and won it, I think, with the 3rd attempt with Toyota.
Yeah, that sounds about right, but it was a little while ago now, so I've sort of forgotten. But I can check that.
Jenson Button, another Formula 1 world champion who, I'm talking about recently, or relatively recently. I know Alonso was 20 years ago since he won the F1 championship, but Jenson went to Le Mans, found himself with a retirement career of sorts.
So these were both 8-lap stints for the 3 and the 80 cars, and that means 8-lap stints, you're in the pit lane for 3 minutes and 17 seconds. The other thing I need to tell you about is that the 34 Aston Martin, currently being driven by Christian Krognes, is now under investigation for potentially an infringement under double yellow. Now, that might be speeding. We haven't yet had a decision about that car. The message about the under investigation only appearing at... normally, we would get an update straight away, but as I say, my timing's a bit laggy. Do tell me, Joe, if you... In fact, the timing screen way over to your right might offer us an answer as well.
Not quite yet. Engel is in the 80 now.
OK.
Lucas Stoltz handing over to Mauro Engel. Daniel Juncadella
still being shown, isn't he?
But he's not showing as out.
No.
He's still showing us in the pit, so a little bit of time before our timing screen updates there. We'll keep an eye on the...
Well, the other thing I'm forgetting to tell you is that Danny Juncadella is a star in his own right, so I'm sure a lot of the photographers just wanted to get a shot of Danny in the car as well. I mean, let's face it, the number 3 Red Bull Verstappen racing car is drawing enough attention anyway, whether Max is in it or not. And you get this long line of N24 photographers keen to get some crucial photographs in darkness hours. But this is something we learned from Maxime Martin when he joined us in the Global Broadcast Centre and spoke at length to John Hindhaugh and Peter Snowden, in that the Winward Racing Mercedes have got into this pattern where they both pit on the same lap, but only one driver change takes place. So one car will retain its driver, the other car will change its driver, and then in another 8 laps' time, those roles will be reversed.
Martin Pearson's just messaging he didn't see a driver swap on that number 3. Juncadella is still showing as and confirming that, but Martin's kind of confirmed that for us. Thank you, Martin. Staying tuned. But so that number 3 continuing, and timing screen agrees with Martin Pearson, so we can crack on.
We can, and Lucas Stoltz did indeed get out to hand over to Mauro Engel. I mean, Maxime Martin pretty much gave us the rotation and said, well, I'm not due in for the next 3 driver changes, so I'm off for a bit of a snooze, and who can blame him? Because he will have to do some driving overnight.
I mean, that's the thing about 24-hour racing, we've got a car off, it looks like we can see the number is the number 86, and that is the high-class racing Porsche. He's currently 11th overall, 10th in the SB9 class.
I fear that's Harry King. Yeah, Harry King, who's sharing with Ye Hongli, the Chinese driver, Anders Fjordbach and Li Kerong. And Harry King in the gravel on the Grand Prix circuit. Now, I don't know yet how he's ended up there. That was, yeah, it's in the second sector of the Grand Prix circuit. Both sectors in that vicinity take around about 40 to 45 seconds. So it's after the, or is it at the hairpin? Is it at the Goodyear Carer, I wonder? There is a gravel trap as well at the Michael Schumacher S, but cars are going behind that stranded Harry King Porsche from High Class Racing. As now Danny Juncadella retains then in the number 3 Mercedes, but having to back off the pace as he reaches this section, which is under yellows and potentially code 60 as well. This is Adenauer Forst with huge spectator infrastructure, constructions that have taken many days through the last week or so to actually put up, and some of them several stories high. Now we go, and Danny Juncadella gets the jump on a couple of those cars that he wasn't allowed to overtake at the Adenauer Forst, but is now as they move their way towards Metzgersfeld. And the Franz Conrad Lamborghini Huracan still very much in contention. It's completed 57 laps now, and Christian Engelhardt's just brought it in. It's a story so far of what might have been for Lamborghini and their 3 Huracans, because the Red Bull Team Apt car started on the front row. Both have been in dramas, although the driver that took pole position yesterday in top qualifying, Luca Engstler, is now in the 84 car again and running in 7th place. So that's their best shot of maybe getting a podium, and it might be helped by the 34 car, as I say, being under investigation for a double yellow infringement. So that's the Christian Krognes Valkenhorst Aston Martin. Keeping my eyes trained to the race control message screen above my head, and we still haven't had, no, we have now had a decision, and it's a no further action for car number 34. So they were checking that that car maybe hadn't overtaken under double yellows, and all is fine. So car 34 looking okay. That was announced 3 or so minutes ago. Valentin Lachenmeier in the 36 BMW Z4 is now heading towards Schwalbenschwanz, and this area restricted to 60 kph as well, or is it just double yellows? There's a change of surface flag there as well, so indication perhaps that there might be something down on the road surface. Into Galgenkopf next, and then the long run for home out of the Dottinger Hohe, as Lachenmeier's getting into it the best place possible. He sees the green flag and off and running again for the Saug Motor and Motorsport entry.
So Harry King dropping down the order as we suspected he might after that off. Currently 7th. We've got a few slow zones, Johnny. We've got one at the Sabine Schmidt curve, just coming off the Grand Prix track onto the Nordschleife. We've got one further around as well. Let me just see if I can find that. A little bit of a slow zone going up to Adenauer Forst. That's the uphill sweep, the sweep right, and then the very tight left-right before they start heading back downhill towards Metzgerfeld. And then the climb to Bergwerk through Exmüller. We've got a slow zone there, one of the fastest parts of the track there as they come out of the right-hander heading towards Bergwerk, out of Exmüller. Slow zone there, and another slow zone, and quite a large slow zone, all the way from Brunchen, all the way through the Pflanzgarten, all the way to Schwalbenschwanz. Try saying that after being up early. All the way out of the Schwalbenschwanz Kleine Karussell towards the Dottinger Hole straight. So that's quite a chunk. That's going to affect lap times. And I think that might be because of a recovery vehicle making its way out of that area. But that's a huge, look at the size of that, Johnny, from Brunchen all the way to the Dottinger Hole. That's quite a bit of racetrack, that.
Now, is this in the realms of some cars maybe thinking about pitting after 7 laps rather than normal 8 because of the time that you might stand to gain on your rivals whilst they're restricted to 60 kph along a long stretch? Might be the opportunity to shorten some of these stints. By the way, Harry King's Porsche is in the gravel at the Goodyear hairpin, so at the bottom of the hill of the Grand Prix track. But did he fall or was he pushed? Can't answer that at this stage, but Harry King is one of those drivers who makes very, very few mistakes, although his experience in 24-hour racing is still fairly limited. Has come through the ranks in the Porsche Carrera Cup Championships, a British champion in that, then started to do some European racing in the Mobil 1 Super Cup with great success at times as well. But I'm delighted to see him now getting his teeth into a couple of 24-hour races this year, because he's also secured a deal at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and not with a Porsche. He's going to be driving an LMP2 car at Le Mans, Harry King. So I can't wait to see that.
He's got a bit of a reputation to be a real special driver.
Yeah.
But with the real deal is the words that we use to describe Harry. I know he works with Snowy sometimes, driver coaching and instructing. Information coming through that we've lost the KTM crossbow. The number 66 has gone out with a mechanical issue. Just try and find it on the... just to make tremendous race in front of us, and considering we're 2.5 hours away from half distance, so we are not going to speculate as to just where things will be by lunchtime tomorrow. We've got to get through the trickiest part of this race, which is of course the nighttime hours. We've talked about the challenge of the Nürburgring and this 24-hour race with its multi-class structure. The speed difference between the slowest classes and the fast GT3 classes is quite phenomenal. The concentration level, the focus that it takes from all of our drivers. There's a car. Is that
Harry King?
He's still grounded in that gravel trap. Yes, he is. So we're waiting for a recovery vehicle still for Harry King's Porsche. He is plummeting off the edge of a cliff down the timing screen. Last time I looked, set down to 17th, but I think that needs an update. So talk amongst yourselves while I just update my timing screen, JP.
Well, that now has detailed it fully in my mind where Harry has come to rest. I was trying to work out exactly where in the gravel he was at the Goodyear hairpin, because the angle that I was trying to describe it from was a slightly unusual one, but now I've been able to witness where the car rests according to Danny Juncker-Deye's vantage point. It's basically turn 90 degrees through a 180 hairpin, and so you get part way through the Goodyear hairpin, and he's immediately to driver's left, facing the wrong way, so actually facing what was a very large crowd on Friday night to witness the drift show. And there is a marshal there with potentially a light board just to indicate further that recovery's about to start, but in full high vis, both jacket and trousers, that marshal, very, very brave to be standing there. I know it's speed limited, or at least yellow flags. I think there's a code 60 in place as well, but still.
He's dropped a 22nd, Johnny. He's got a bit of space behind him. Nicky Katzberg is behind him on the road in the Red Bull Team Abt Lamborghini, which is in the pits. So he's going to remain in 22nd until the Porsche from the Gorian RT by Car Collection, that's the SP9 entry, car number 4. There's a 3-lap deficit, so he's got a chunk of time. He's got over 20 minutes before he'll drop any further down from 22nd. But with him being in the gravel and not really making any attempt to pull him out there. And as I said that, there was a recovery vehicle, I think, just had arrived on scene. So they are very, very efficient here, very swift. They'll get him pulled back on the track, and he'll hopefully not lose any more time. Get back in this race as soon as he can.
Just caught sight of the 55 car as well of Alessandro Giretti. And Giretti, the 24-year-old Frenchman who's impressed me again in Porsche one-make racing, but car 55, which is the dynamic GT Porsche, running in 12th place. That car's just come into pit lane for service, as is the Mühlner Motorsport 918 car, running third in Cup 2. So we've reached the point maybe when the leading runners in Cup 2 are thinking about getting some fuel to put on board. By the way, there are separate numbers for the Cup 2 Porsches in terms of minimum pit stop times that you can't exceed, or you can't be beneath. So again, a different table that the Cup 2 runners run by, but they will know it off by heart and have to send the car at exactly the right point to make sure it reaches the timing loop at pit out, not a moment too early.
Gasbury asked a poignant question there. In other forms of racing, if you end up in the gravel, you are pretty much out of the race. Not at the Nürburgring 24 hours. You can be recovered. Well, one, you can be pulled back on the track, and I think that's what's going to happen with Harry King's Porsche. He's going to be pulled back out of the gravel. I'm talking about the number 86, the high-class racing car. He's going to be pulled out of the gravel. He'll get back onto the tarmac, and he'll just continue on his way. Whether he comes in the pits is then a decision down to him. But we have got situations where cars with damage can be returned, or will be returned, to the paddock, to the pits, where the teams can repair them and then continue. So it's pretty much addressing adversity in the form of your car ending up with a problem, whether it be mechanical, whether it be an accident from an incident. The organisers will endeavour to get the car back to the pits, and they'll use the access roads around the north side. It's a 25-kilometre long track, this, and it goes off out into the countryside, away from the Grand Prix part of the track, the kind of conventional permanent circuit. Well, it's all permanent circuit these days, isn't it? So it always has been, actually. What am I talking about? And there's the different accesses around the track, all the way around the track, and the cars can be put onto a flatbed, taken onto the public road, or even towed on the public road on some occasions, and brought back to the paddock where they can be repaired. So it's all about getting that car to finish, because 24-hour racing, primarily it's about winning. It's about winning your class, but it's also, this form of racing came from the historically the challenge of getting that motor car. The challenge of the endurance aspect of it is getting that motor car to the finish over the course of 24 hours. That was the engineering challenge. It's a human challenge, it's an engineering challenge, and it's very much a team sport.
There's a theory from Tom Hornsby, who's the press officer for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, of which this is the second round for 2026, by the way. Are the Mercedes changing positions, first to second, second to first, on their in-lap just to make the pit stop easier? Because the 3 car sits a bit further down pit lane compared to the 80, i.e. in order when you pass the garages to drivers right down pit lane, the first one you will get to is the 80 car, and then it's the 3 car after that. So it makes much more sense for the 3 to lead the 80 car into pit lane, just so that they can pull into their pit stall, side or nose to tail, and be worked on without too much confusion and without too much choreography. It's certainly a theory that makes sense, Tom. And Danny Juncadella is now behind Maro Engel after Engel picked him off at the end of the Dottinger Ruhr, but we'll see whether later on in the stint whether the 3 gets put back ahead, if you like, because there's clearly a bit of team orders going on here. Winward Racing want to win the race, and they want to finish second as well. In which order those cars will be in, well, that's your guess, but with a certain personality in this race, then probably more likely that the number 3 car will be the winner if they can actually fashion that finish. And people like Maro Engel might have a bit of a thing to say about that as well, because he's now leading in the number 80 car. The other theory from John Hindhaugh is that, are they actually saving a little bit of fuel here and there? A bit like being in a bicycle race, Tour de France, Giro d'Italia, where it's the job of one cyclist to lead and take a lot of the airflow, and then you give that person a bit of a break by putting another competitor in front, and they get the chance then to follow in the tow. And by doing that, these Mercedes will actually save just that little bit of fuel. I'm not talking about a full lap, but when you add it all up through the course of the 24 hours, you might actually be able to pinch one more lap by the end of the race, which could be crucial. We're on lap 60. Joe Bradley stepped away for a bit of a break. It is midnight 30 here in Germany for the 54th edition of the ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the...
In the morning, I know it's after midnight, but this has been just such an enthralling race. And yet one team is just rock solid at the front, Winwood Racing. Everybody else has had a mishap here, a mishap there. Yes, you just said the words, it is endurance racing, but for Winwood Racing, they seem to have a very, very good formula. For Mercedes, they haven't won this race for 10 years, and to have cars running first and second with a very tiny buffer, with the best part of 3 minutes back to the Walkenhorst Motorsport Aston Martin with Christian Cronjes at the wheel. This is dream position for the team. But the number of mishaps, the others, yes, cold track conditions, greasy track conditions, but so many cars going off. But then again, what can you do when you see the likes of Grello being driven, beautifully by Kevin Estre, and a stream of oil across the circuit, and he was just absolutely a passenger. Then poor Arjun Maini poured into the barriers behind him as well. Two, cars easily in the top 10, and certainly the Manthey Racing Grello Porsche, very much a car that would have been challenging the Winwood Racing Mercedes, and that is the change of the complexion in this race. I think we're far from finished, but yeah, it's been extraordinary. Most races you can dip away for half an hour, come back, look at the figures for 10 minutes, and you feel as though you've got your finger back on the pulse. This is taking a lot more analysis.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, it's great that the two leaders are so close to one another. It's now 9 seconds, actually, Engel to Junkadea, but I get the feeling that they'll be a bit closer than that towards the end of this particular stint. And then the rest are being left to fight for the minor places at this stage. But bear in mind that the Aston Martin and Christian Cronjes, yes, he's nearly 3 minutes back down the road, but that's still very much on the same lap. It's an 8-minute lap around here, and actually we're in the 9 minutes right now. 9 minutes 30 last time for Christian Cronjes. The lap times for the two Mercedes are a bit deceptive because they include their most recent pit stops. So a bit of time obviously was gathered back by the Valkenhorst Aston in third position. In the 99 car, that's one of two Rover Racing BMWs, and car 99 has at the moment one of the Van der Lindes. It's Sheldon Van der Linde in car 99 with Max Hesse, Dan Harper, Dries Vanthoor, the other three drivers in that quartet. But Sheldon is currently at the wheel and position fourth. Now he's 1 minute and 6 seconds back, and that is a gap from the Aston Martin, and that was the gap at the start of this lap. A further 44 seconds back is the BMW of Neil Verhagen, and that's the very special M3 Touring running in 5th place, ahead of Luca Engsler's Lamborghini number 84, Lauren Heinrich's 24 Lion Speed Porsche, Dylan Pereira in the 48 Losch Motorsport 911 GT3, and then Chris Meese and Bastian Boos completing the top 10 with 14.5 hours just under still to go. And Maro Engel barreling his way down towards Adenauer Forst, is this? Yes, with the vicinity of the track just opening up. You can't really see that massive amount of